Welcome, survivor. You're listening to another story from Doomsday Notes. If you enjoy survival stories and dark narration like this, consider subscribing. It helps this signal reach others out there. And before we begin, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Now, take a breath. The story begins. Before the Silence. Chapter 1. Emergency plans were meant for this. David Miller had always told himself that the basement was insurance, not paranoia, not fear, just preparation. That was the word he used whenever Sarah raised an eyebrow at the growing stacks of canned food, bottled water, medical supplies, and batteries. Preparation sounded reasonable, responsible, almost boring. Insurance was something you bought hoping you would never need it. Standing in the living room that morning, staring out at the silent street, David realized how thin that logic had been. This didn't feel like insurance anymore. It felt like a bill finally coming due. The neighborhood looked frozen. Cars sat parked in driveways at awkward angles, some with doors still open. A minivan 2 houses down had its hazard lights blinking endlessly, rhythmically, as if trying to warn someone who would never come. A trash bin lay tipped over near the curb, its contents spilled across the asphalt, unmoving in the still air. No people, no birds, no sound at all. David glanced at the clock above the television. 8:17 a.m. The world usually made noise by now. "Sarah," he said quietly without turning around, "tell me again what the hospital said." Behind him, he heard the soft click of a phone being set down on the kitchen counter. Sarah Miller stood there in her scrubs, hair pulled back the way she always wore it for long shifts. Her medical badge lay next to her phone, untouched, as if she deliberately decided not to put it on. "They didn't say anything," she replied. Her voice was steady but tired, exhausted. "They stopped answering calls at around midnight. At 6 this morning, the system switched to lockdown mode. No staff entry, no patient intake, then silence." David nodded slowly. Hospitals didn't go silent. Not ever. On the couch, Ethan shifted his weight. The boy had his tablet in his hands, but he wasn't playing a game. He was watching the same short video clip on loop, grainy footage, shaky hands, people running across an overpass while someone screamed off camera. David watched his son from the corner of his eye, 10 years old. Still young enough to believe adults understood what was happening. Still old enough to sense when they didn't. "Dad?" Ethan asked quietly. "Yes?" "Why do they keep getting back up?" David didn't answer right away. Before he could, Emily spoke. "They're pretending," she said from the floor. She sat cross-legged, lining up her stuffed animals in a perfect row. A rabbit, a bear, a faded dog with one missing eye. Like when you fall down on purpose. Sarah walked over and knelt beside her. "No, sweetheart," she said gently. "They're sick." "How sick?" Emily asked. Sarah hesitated. David filled the silence. "Sick in a way doctors can't fix," he said. Emily absorbed that without crying, which worried David more than if she had. Ethan looked up from the screen. "The news is gone," he said. David turned. "What do you mean, gone?" "All the channels, they're the same now." Sarah picked up the remote and turned on the TV. A black screen filled the room. White text, a red banner scrolling endlessly beneath it. "Emergency broadcast system. Remain indoors, do not travel, do not seek medical facilities." Sarah closed her eyes. David felt something cold settle in his chest. That message wasn't meant to calm people. It was meant to reduce movement, reduce chaos, reduce numbers. "Okay," David said quietly. "That's enough." Sarah opened her eyes. "Enough of what?" "Waiting," he replied, "for instructions, for clarity, for someone to tell us what to do." He looked at his children. "At this point," he continued, "the only people responsible for us are us." Emily hugged her rabbit tighter. "Are we in trouble?" David walked over and knelt in front of her, bringing himself to eye level. "Not yet," he said, "but we're going to act like we might be." Ethan frowned. "Like a drill?" David smiled faintly. "Exactly like a drill. Except drills didn't make his hands shake. Except drills didn't come with this silence." David stood and took a deep breath. "The emergency plan starts now," he said. "Everyone stays inside, no windows open, no doors. We move together." Sarah nodded slowly. The children watched them both, sensing the shift. David glanced once more at the empty street outside. Whatever was coming, it had already started. Chapter 2. The basement was never just storage. David waited until everyone had moved away from the windows. Not because he thought the glass would shatter, but because he needed distance. Distance from the street, from the red banner on the television, from the quiet certainty that the house itself had begun to listen. "Okay," he said softly. "We're going downstairs." The word downstairs carried weight. It always had. The basement wasn't a place the family lived in. It wasn't hostile exactly, just unfinished. Concrete walls, exposed beams, a space meant for storage, not comfort. David had always told himself that was the point. You didn't live in your backup plan. They moved together toward the stairwell. Ethan first, then Emily, then Sarah. David stayed behind for a moment, listening, waiting for something to break the silence. Nothing did. The stairs creaked beneath their weight as they descended. Each step sounded louder than it should have, echoing into corners that suddenly felt too aware. At the bottom, David flipped the light switch. The bulb flickered once, twice, then steadied. The room revealed itself slowly, like a memory surfacing after years of preparation. Shelves lined the walls from floor to ceiling. Cardboard boxes, plastic bins, metal racks, everything labeled in David's handwriting. Dates, contents, priorities, food, water, fuel, tools. Emily paused on the last step. "Why is everything written down?" she asked. "So we don't forget," David said. "What?" He considered the answer. "What matters?" Sarah moved instinctively toward the medical shelf. Her hands hovered for a moment, not touching, just remembering bandages, antiseptics, antibiotics sealed in foil packs. Supplies she had brought home quietly over the years, never all at once. "You never questioned it," she said. David shrugged. "I trusted your judgment." She met his eyes. "And now?" "Now I'm grateful for it." Ethan drifted toward the water jugs, running a finger along the plastic. "How long is this supposed to last?" he asked. David hesitated. "Longer than whatever's happening outside," he said finally. Emily sat down on one of the lower steps, hugging her rabbit close. "So, we're hiding?" David crouched in front of her, meeting her eyes. "No," he said gently. "We're staying." There was a difference. He needed her to understand that. He stood and crossed the room to the far wall where the gun safe was bolted directly into the concrete. Beside it leaned a crowbar, heavy, worn, familiar. A rack of knives hung nearby, blades he'd collected over years of bushcraft trips. Tools meant for the wild, now waiting indoors. David rested his hand on the cool steel of the safe but didn't open it yet. Sarah noticed. "You don't have to," she said quietly. "I do," David replied, "not to use them, to acknowledge them." He opened the safe. Inside, the collection sat exactly as he'd left it, methodical, deliberate, Glock 19 chambered in 9 by 19 millimeter. Taurus TX-22, compacts in .22 LR, a single Colt 1911 heavy and familiar. Remington 870 shotguns, 2 AR-15 resting above them. Each pistol had a suppressor stored beside it, clean, silent, waiting. Ethan froze. "Those are all real?" "Yes," David said calmly. "And that's all we're saying about them." David reached in and removed a Glock 19 already fitted with its suppressor. He checked it by habit, then kept it in his own hand, letting its weight settle. Then he selected a Taurus TX-22 compact, smaller, lighter. He checked it carefully and handed it to Sarah. "For you," he said on low recoil, quiet, control over power. She accepted it without comment. David placed another TX-22 gently on the workbench and glanced at Ethan. "You already know this one?" he said quietly. Ethan nodded. He did. The long gun stayed in the safe. "These don't make us safe," David said, mostly to himself. "They just give us options." Sarah crossed her arms. "And if the option is wrong?" David didn't answer. A sound drifted down from above, soft, scraping. Everyone froze. Emily's grip tightened around her rabbit. "That's not the pipes," Sarah whispered. Another sound followed, slower, heavier, something dragging along the outside of the house. David closed the safe slowly, carefully, as if noise itself might attract attention. He tightened his grip on the Glock. "We're going back up," he said. "No running, no talking." Ethan hesitated. "Dad?" "Yes." "If they come in—" David met his son's eyes. "Then we stay together," he said, "no matter what." They climbed the stairs, each step heavier than the last. Above them the house waited, and outside it, something had already arrived. Chapter 3. The garden was still alive. The house felt tight, not cramped, contained. David had chosen it that way years ago. Smaller than most suburban homes, less glass, fewer open spaces, easier to defend. 70 square meters on the ground floor, another level above it, and the basement below. Stacked deliberately, connected by a single stairwell. Nothing wasted, nothing exposed. The front door stood silent. David approached it slowly, Glock lowered, movements controlled. The door was reinforced steel beneath wood paneling, heavier than it looked. The peephole was small, narrow, designed to give information without giving anything back. He leaned in and looked. Nothing. No movement, no shadows, no faces pressed close. Just the empty street frozen in the same unnatural stillness as before. Sarah stood a step behind him, the pistol held close to her chest, finger indexed along the frame. She watched his face, not the door. "Anything?" she asked quietly. David shook his head. "Clear," he said. "Or quiet." Quiet wasn't reassuring anymore. He checked the shutter beside the door by touch alone. Locked. Solid. "We don't open it," he said. "Not for anything." They moved toward the back of the house together. The impact-resistant windows were hidden behind thick shutters, already closed. David had insisted on them years ago, back when it had sounded excessive. Now they felt necessary. At the sliding door to the backyard, he stopped and cracked the shutter just enough to see. The garden lay beyond it, bathed in calm daylight. Untouched. Rows of green leaves stood upright in the soil. Tomatoes clung to their vines, lettuce pushed stubbornly through dark earth. Life was still happening back there. David stood with his Glock lowered, not aiming, just holding it. The suppressor gave the weapon a longer, quieter silhouette. No one spoke. "They're not here," Ethan whispered. David scanned slowly. The tool shed, the fence line, the corners. "They were," Sarah said. "We heard them." "I know." The fence told the truth. Fresh scratches marred the wood, dark smears where something had leaned, tested. One plank showed a thin crack near the bottom, not broken, not yet. "They tested it," David said. "And they'll test it again," Sarah replied. Emily stepped closer, careful. "Can we go outside now?" she asked. David turned immediately and knelt. "Not yet," he said gently. "I will, soon, just to look around." Her eyes widened. "You promise?" "I do," he said. "But first we call Grandma and Grandpa." Ethan looked up. "Right now?" "Yes," David said, "before we do anything else." Emily hesitated, then asked quietly, "And what if the fence breaks?" David didn't rush his answer. He placed one hand flat against the reinforced glass. "Then we stay inside," he said. "The doors and windows are strong, stronger than the fence." "And if someone gets into the garden?" Ethan asked. "Then we stay quiet," David replied. "No lights, no noise, we let the house do its job." That seemed to satisfy them, for now. They moved into the living room. Sarah picked up her phone first, no signal. She frowned and tried again. Nothing. David took his own phone. The signal was weak, then gone. He dialed anyway. It rang once, then stopped. No voicemail, no disconnect tone, just silence. He lowered the phone slowly. "They're not answering?" Ethan asked. David stared at the dark screen. "No," he said, "the network's gone." Emily hugged her rabbit tighter. Ethan checked his tablet. The internet connection was gone. Outside, far away, something heavy echoed faintly, too distant to identify. David looked once more toward the garden. The house stood, the fence held, but the world had stopped calling back, and that, more than anything else, told him this was only the beginning. Chapter 4, When the Streets Woke Up. David didn't wait for another sound. He didn't wait for confirmation. He acted. "Listen to me," he said, voice calm but sharp enough to cut through the room. "We're filling containers now." Sarah looked up immediately. "Both bathrooms," David continued. "Upstairs and downstairs, buckets, bottles, anything clean. Fill the tubs, too." Ethan blinked. "All of them?" "All of them," David said. "Cold water first. We don't know how long pressure lasts." Emily hugged her rabbit, then nodded and ran for the stairs. Sarah was already moving. "Go," David said. "I'll check the yard." He slipped on his jacket, Glock secured, suppressor already attached. The back door opened just enough for him to pass through. The garden greeted him with stillness. Fresh soil, green leaves, no movement. David stepped carefully onto the grass, every sense stretched thin. He walked the fence line, hand brushing the wood as he went. Solid, scratched but intact. No broken planks, no gaps. He paused near the far corner and looked out beyond the fence toward the tree line. That's when he saw them. 3 shapes, far away, uneven, moving wrong. They stumbled between the trees, slow and uncoordinated, heads tilting as if sound alone guided them. Too distant to hear, too close to ignore. David didn't wait. He turned and moved quickly, quietly, back to the house, closing the door behind him and locking it with a practiced twist. Inside, water was already running. Buckets filled the hallway. The upstairs bathroom echoed with the sound of the tub filling. The downstairs faucet ran steady, relentless. "Good," David said. "Keep going." Then it started. At first it was distant, a low rolling sound, engines, then horns, shouting. David moved to the reinforced front window and cracked the shutter just enough to see. The street was waking up. Cars streamed through the neighborhood now, some speeding, some crawling. Doors slammed. People ran alongside vehicles, pounding on windows. A bicycle swerved between bumpers and nearly went down. A police cruiser screamed past, lights flashing, then an ambulance, then another. The sound layered over itself, sirens, horns, voices, until it became one continuous roar. Ethan stood beside David, eyes wide. "Dad, there's a fight." David saw it. 2 men in the street grappling, one screaming as the other shoved him hard into a parked car. Someone else tried to pull them apart, failed. A woman stumbled backward and fell. David closed the shutter a little more. "We don't watch," he said quietly. The noise grew closer, then passed, flowing past their house like water around a stone. The trees and the slight bend in the road hid them just enough. Their house didn't stand out. No open lights, no open doors. Then a horn, loud, intentional. David froze. The sound came again, right outside. He looked through the peephole. A gray Toyota Hilux sat at the curb, engine running, hazard lights blinking. A woman leaned out the window, scanning the house. Emily gasped. "That's Lily's mom!" Ethan's heart slammed into his chest. Lily, same school, same class, same smile that made his stomach feel strange. David didn't hesitate. "Garage," he said. "Now." He hit the control. The garage door lifted smoothly, silently enough. The pickup rolled forward immediately, slipping inside beside the black RAV4 and the Corolla. 3 vehicles, no crowding, no chaos. The door closed, locks engaged. Only then did David open the internal door. The family from the truck rushed in, dusty, shaken, but alive. The man's hands trembled. The woman clutched her daughter close. Lily's eyes met Ethan's for just a second. Neither of them spoke. David shut the door behind them and locked it. The living room filled with breathing, with presence, with relief that felt fragile. Outside, the noise continued. Inside, the house held. And for the first time that day, they were no longer alone. Chapter 5. What they brought with them. The living room felt different with 7 people in it. Not louder, heavier. Bodies meant heat, breath, movement. Proof that the house was no longer holding only one family's fear, but 2. The family who had arrived was Mark, Anna, and their daughter Lily Collins. Friends Sarah and David had known for years. They sat where they could, on the couch, on chairs pulled from the kitchen, on the floor. No one rushed to speak. No one rushed to ask questions. David waited. Mark broke the silence first. "We tried calling you," he said. "All morning the lines were garbage, cutting in and out." Sarah nodded slowly. "We lost everything late in the morning," Anna said. "Phones, internet, even the radio went strange. Static, then nothing." David leaned back slightly, arms crossed but relaxed. "You live west of here," he said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Mark replied. "Different suburb, same kind of place, quiet, or it used to be." Lily sat close to her mother, knees pulled up, eyes flicking occasionally toward Ethan. He noticed. He always noticed. "We knew your house," Mark went on. "David talked about it, about how you built it, about the shutters, the basement, the fence." David exchanged a brief glance with Sarah. "When things got bad," Anna said, "we packed everything we could, everything that mattered." Her voice tightened. "And then people showed up." David didn't interrupt. "They weren't sick," Mark said. "Not like the ones on the videos. Just desperate. Too many of them." He exhaled slowly. "They rushed the house while we were loading the truck. We barely made it out." Silence settled again, heavier this time. "That's when we came straight here," Anna finished. "We knew if anywhere would still be standing, it'd be this place." David nodded once. "Show us what you brought," he said. The garage door opened quietly. Under the soft overhead lights, the gray Toyota Hilux sat packed tight, its bed loaded, the back seats full. Nothing loose, nothing careless. They worked together without being told. Crates came first, fuel cans, more than David expected, batteries fully charged and carefully labeled. A compact solar-powered rainwater filtration unit wrapped in foam and plastic, medical cases, sealed food containers, rice, canned meals, dried fruit. Weapons came next, pistols, ammunition, a baseball bat worn smooth with use. An ACR rifle, clean and oiled, wrapped carefully in cloth. No one made a show of it. No one commented. Then the softer things, clothes, jackets, hygiene kits, soap, toothbrushes, towels. Small bags filled with toys, figures, cards, things meant to keep small hands busy when the world outside became too loud. They carried everything down to the basement. The shelves filled quickly, too quickly. For the first time since morning, David felt something unfamiliar settle in his chest. Relief. When they finished, the basement looked complete, not abundant, but ready. Night fell without ceremony. No sunset worth watching. No colors. Just a slow dimming until the shutters blocked the last of it out. They ate quietly, shared food, shared water. David and Mark took first watch, seated near the stairwell, backs to the wall, listening. During the first watch that night, David quietly handed Mark a suppressor for his H&K P30. No explanation needed. Sarah checked supplies one last time before settling the children upstairs. Anna followed her, helping without being asked. The house creaked. Pipes clicked softly. Somewhere outside, something distant moved, but nothing came close. Ethan lay awake longer than he meant to, staring at the ceiling. Across the room, Lily breathed evenly, already asleep. For the first time that day, the fear wasn't sharp. It was dull, manageable, the kind you could live with. Above them, the reinforced house held its shape. Below them, the basement held their future. And outside, the night passed them by. Chapter 6. The Fence Learns. Morning didn't arrive all at once. It seeped in quietly, slipping through the narrow edges of the shutters, touching the walls without announcing itself. The house woke slowly, carefully, as if noise itself had become a risk. David was already awake. He stood near the back of the ground floor, coffee untouched, listening. Not for voices, not for engines, just for the wrong sounds, the ones that didn't belong to a normal morning. Footsteps, too slow, too uneven. He raised one hand. Mark froze mid-step near the stairwell. "You hear it?" Mark whispered. David nodded. Sarah noticed immediately. She crossed the room and knelt in front of the kids, voice low and steady. "Upstairs," she said. "Rooms. You don't look. You listen." Ethan hesitated. "Dad." David met his eyes. "Not this one." That was enough. The children retreated, doors closing gently behind them. Lily followed without a word, her face pale but focused. The sound came again. Closer now, a dull scrape, wood under pressure. David opened the back door and stepped into the garden, Glock already in hand, suppressor dark against the morning light. Mark followed him, his H&K P39mm already fitted with the suppressor David had handed him during the first night's watch. The air outside felt heavier, thicker, alive in the wrong way. Two infected were pressed against the outside of the fence. Hands clawed uselessly through gaps between planks. Teeth snapped at the wood. One forced its face between boards, jaw grinding against the edge, skin tearing without reaction. They weren't inside. Not yet. "They're pushing from the other side," Mark whispered. "And we keep it that way," David replied. They moved in close, stopping just short of the fence, close enough to smell rot and damp earth, close enough to hear breath that wasn't really breath anymore. David lined up his shot through the gap between planks, angled downward. He waited until the head stilled against the wood. One suppressed shot. The sound was little more than a soft cough. The body collapsed on the far side of the fence, weight dropping out of view. The second reacted, not with fear but with movement. It turned blindly toward the noise, fingers scraping at nothing. Mark stepped in beside David. He fired once. Another muted report. Another body fell outside the fence. Silence rushed back in, thick and immediate. They didn't move. They listened. 30 seconds. Then another. Nothing else approached. David exhaled slowly. "That's it," he said. They went back inside and locked the door behind them. Sarah was already waiting. "No contact?" she asked. "No bites," David said. "They never got through." She nodded once. David opened a utility drawer and pulled out heavy rubber gloves, tossing a pair to Mark. "Front door," David said. "We don't leave them there." Mark didn't argue. They geared up quickly, movements efficient. The front door opened just enough for them to step out, closing softly behind them. Outside, the street was still quiet. The bodies lay tangled at the base of the fence, already drawing flies. They worked without speaking, gripping wrists, dragging weight, pulling the dead away from the house past the tree line deep enough into the woods that smell and sight wouldn't drift back. When they were done, they stood for a moment, breathing hard, listening. Nothing followed them back. They returned inside, gloves off, Hands washed, doors locked. The house settled again. Upstairs, a door creaked. Ethan's voice drifted down. "Is it over?" "Yes," David said. "And it stays that way." The kids didn't come down right away. That was fine. Breakfast followed. Simple, quiet, controlled. Outside, the fence stood clean. And for the first time since the world had begun to break, the house had kept something out. Chapter 7. The Ones Who Don't Knock. The morning settled into something almost gentle, not safe, but human. Light filtered in from the back of the house, the windows facing the forest left half covered. The shutters were lowered just enough to hide movement from the outside, but not enough to steal the day. Pale sunlight spread across the walls, soft and green-tinted, as if the trees themselves were breathing into the room. Sarah stood in the kitchen when Anna stepped closer. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Sarah reached out. They hugged, tight, instinctive, the kind that came from relief more than fear. Anna's shoulders shook once before she steadied herself. "I'm so glad you're alive," Anna said quietly. Sarah nodded, eyes closed. "I'm glad you're here," she replied. "All of you." They stayed like that a moment longer than necessary. Then they pulled back, hands still on each other's arms. "We did the right thing," Anna said, "coming here." "We did," Sarah agreed. "And now we make it work." They talked in low voices about routines, about sharing watch shifts, about keeping days predictable for the kids, about water, food, rest, about what not to do as much as what had to be done. Across the room, Ethan sat on the couch near the back window. Lily leaned against him, her head resting lightly on his shoulder. He hadn't moved when she did. Neither had she. Outside, the forest stood quiet. "You okay?" Ethan whispered. Lily nodded. "I am now." He wrapped an arm around her without thinking. She didn't pull away. They sat like that, watching dust drift through the sunlit air, pretending just for a few seconds that this was still a normal afternoon. Then the water stopped. Not gradually. Just gone. Sarah turned the faucet again. Nothing. David tried another sink. Then the bathroom. Dry. "Okay," he said calmly. "That's water, too." Silence settled again, heavier this time. "We've got reserves," Mark said, "buckets, tubs." "And filtration," Anna added. "But pressure's gone." David checked the generator panel. "We'll keep the generator for later," David said. "For now, we use the batteries, short window, power and pump, then off again." They didn't argue. They moved as a unit. For lunch, they went to the garden. The back door opened carefully. The forest watched. The fence held. They picked tomatoes warm from the sun, peppers still crisp, potatoes dug up slowly, deliberately. Cabbage cut and carried inside. The food tasted like effort, like control. Evening came without warning. The light shifted, shadows stretched. The forest darkened. David connected the charged battery units the Collins family had brought, routing power quietly into the house. Lights came back on without a sound. The water pump kicked in. Buckets were topped off again. No engine noise, no vibration. Dinner was quiet, full. Then, voices, not close but not far enough. David raised his hand. Everyone froze. The sound came again. Human voices, rougher now, overlapping. Then metal slammed against metal. A car door. Another. Somewhere beyond the fence, someone laughed. David didn't need to see them. This wasn't a greeting. Not infected. Raiders. And raiders, he knew, didn't knock. Chapter 8. Raiders. They didn't announce but revealed themselves. Car doors slammed beyond the fence, hard, deliberate, metal on metal, not panic, not accident. A message meant to be heard. David felt it settle in his chest. This wasn't a mistake. This was intent. "Ethan," he said quietly without turning. "Basement. Now. Bring the AR." Ethan didn't argue. He moved. Mark was already crossing the living room, pulling the ACR from where it leaned, checking the chamber by touch alone. "Wait," David said. "We don't fire unless they do." Mark nodded once. Outside voices rose, not pleading, not desperate, confident. "They got power," someone said beyond the fence. "Probably water and supplies, too." Another voice laughed. "Bet they got women in there." David clenched his jaw. "We get inside," the voice continued. "Take what we want." A pause. "Anyone fights, put them down." Another laugh, lower this time. The house went still. Ethan returned breathless, AR-15 in his hands. David took it, checked it once, then held it to his chest. "Stay behind me," David said, "if it comes to it." It came to it fast. Metal shrieked at the gate, a pry bar biting deep. David stepped into position, AR steady, muzzle down. Mark took the opposite angle, ACR shouldered, finger straight along the frame. "Step away from the gate," David called out. Silence, then a gunshot. Loud, uncontrolled. The round slammed into the main door, ricocheting harmlessly off reinforced steel. That was enough. David fired, not a warning. A clean, controlled burst. Short, precise, through the narrow angle he trusted. Mark fired with him, measured, disciplined. A body dropped. Another screamed. The raiders scattered, firing wildly now. Rounds smacked into shutters, sparked off metal, punched uselessly into reinforced walls. David shifted, fired again. Mark covered the retreat. Engines roared to life, tires spun. Someone dragged another figure toward a car, shouting. Then they were gone. The silence afterward felt too thin, too sharp. David didn't lower the rifle, neither did Mark. "Count it," David said. They listened. 1 minute, then another. Only the forest answered. Sarah stepped up beside them, voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "Everyone okay?" "No hits," David said. "They were testing, looking for weakness." Mark exhaled slowly. "They won't try that gate again." David shook his head. "They won't need to." From beyond the trees came a sound that didn't belong to engines or people. A low moan, then another. Closer this time, David felt the shift immediately. "Shutters," he said, "all the way down." They moved together, locks engaged, weapons checked, positions taken. Outside, the sounds multiplied, dragging footsteps, wet breathing, too many to count. Mark glanced toward the back of the house. That gunfire carried. David nodded. "It always does." They waited, not for the raiders to return, but for what always followed noise. And beyond the fence, the dead had begun to answer. Chapter 9. Quiet Work. The first moan came from the trees, then another and another. They didn't rush the fence, they gathered. David raised one finger. "Windows," he whispered. "Crack them just enough." The reinforced forest-facing windows opened a few centimeters. Cold air slipped in. Sound slipped out. The glass stayed safe, untouched. "Sidearms only," David said. "Suppressed. We take our time." Mark nodded, already switching grip. Sarah and Anna exchanged a glance. "I'll cover," Sarah said. "I will too," Anna replied. David looked at Ethan. "Basement," he said softly. "Bring two." Ethan swallowed, then moved. The house stayed silent while he ran down the stairs and back up again. He returned with 2 compact pistols, both already fitted with suppressors. "One for you," he said to Anna, handing her a Taurus TX-22. She took it without hesitation. "And one for me," Ethan added quietly. David knelt in front of him. "You don't rush," he said. "You breathe. You aim. If you don't fire, that's okay." Ethan nodded. Outside, shapes drifted into view. 5, then 6, dragging feet, heads tilted toward the house like broken instruments tuning themselves to noise that was already gone. David fired first, a soft, controlled cough. A head snapped back, a body folded. Mark followed. Then Sarah, one by one. No shouting, no panic, just work. Ethan raised his pistol. His hands shook. The infected nearest the fence lifted its head, jaw working uselessly. Ethan hesitated. Then he exhaled. He fired. The sound was barely there. The body dropped. Ethan didn't smile, but he didn't freeze either. Beside him, Anna took her shot, then another, then a third, clean, calm, focused. When the last shape outside stopped moving, silence returned, thicker than before. David didn't lower his weapon. "Mark," he said. "Garden." They stepped outside together, pistols still raised. 3 more lingered near the fence, slow to react, drawn late to the noise. They didn't get close. 3 shots, 3 bodies. The fence stood clear. David and Mark waited another full minute before going back inside. "It's clean," Mark said. "For now," David replied. They locked the doors. The house exhaled. "Morning," Sarah said quietly. "We clear the bodies if nothing else comes." David nodded. "Everyone showers," he added, "and then sleep." Water ran again briefly. Steam filled the bathrooms. Dirt and sweat washed away, leaving only exhaustion behind. Mark took first watch. David lay down beside Sarah. A moment later, Emily appeared in the doorway, eyes wide. "Can I stay?" she whispered. David opened his arm. "Of course." She curled in close. Later they switched. David took watch. Mark slipped into the guest's bedroom and lay beside Anna, both of them silent, grateful just to be breathing the same air. Down the hall, Lily padded softly into Ethan's room. Neither of them spoke. They didn't need to. They lay close, hands finding each other in the dark, the world held at bay by walls and quiet. Sleep came. Morning followed. And for now, they were still here. Chapter 10. Inside the Fence. Morning came quietly, no moans, no scraping at the fence, no movement in the trees. David and Mark went out together after sunrise, gloves on, pistols holstered. The air was cold and clean, the kind that made everything feel sharper than it should. They worked without speaking, dragging the bodies away from the fence down the same path they had used before, deep into the woods, far enough that smell and memory wouldn't drift back with the wind. They left them where the forest would take them, the way it always had. When they returned, the fence stood clean again. In the days that followed, the world around them slowly revealed what was left of it. They moved carefully through the neighborhood, never alone, never careless. Most houses were silent, doors forced open, windows broken. Some rooms told stories without words, neighbors they had once waved to now gone. In a few homes, it was clear the raiders had been there first. At the far ends of the street, they found signs of life. 2 families, both barricaded, both wary, both alive. They spoke at a distance at first, then closer. Over time, trust replaced fear. They shared information, sometimes food, sometimes just conversation. They weren't rebuilding society, but they were no longer isolated. Together, they learned the land again. They hunted in the forest, set traps, fished the quiet stretches of water where the world still reflected itself. Fresh meat became part of their meals, earned, not taken. Winter crept closer. They gathered wood, stacked it high, planned heat carefully. Their supplies were still strong. Water was steady. The house continued to do what it had been built to do. One afternoon during a fishing run, David and Ethan heard something that didn't belong to the forest. A bark. They followed it and found her, thin, muddy, but alert. A German shepherd female, tail low but eyes sharp. She recognized them before they recognized her. She had belonged to a neighbor farther down the road. She didn't leave when they stood up. She followed them home. They didn't argue. Weeks later, the rain came, heavy, constant, the kind that erased tracks and softened sounds. That night, fire lit the darkness. A bottle shattered against the side of the house. Flames bloomed and ran before rain could slow them. Raiders emerged from the trees, shouting now, desperate and angry. They didn't get close. David, Mark, Sarah, and Anna ended it quickly. controlled, final. They hosed the burning fuel away before it could take hold. The rain helped. The house held. When it was over, they dragged the bodies back to the forest, to the same place. The raiders' vehicle sat abandoned nearby. They rolled it behind the house and searched it carefully. More supplies, more weapons, more ammunition. The world kept offering what it had left, if you survived long enough to take it. And then slowly things settled. Days became routines, routines became life. They didn't know if the world would ever come back. They didn't know if help was coming. But inside the fence, something had survived. People, trust, quiet mornings, and for now, that was enough. Thank you for staying with them, for listening, for waiting in the silence. This story ends here. The world does not. This was Doomsday Notes. If you're still listening, consider subscribing. Until next time, stay alert.